Alrighty, so in our latest iteration of the XO simulator, as you can see, we've added quite a few more UI elements. We do still have at least a couple of the familiar buttons. We have for submitting an order is a new one, but this one still remains. The key difference is that it fulfills a few different functions that it didn't quite do before. What this one is able to do is takes information from all of these here and gets our total cost, and it'll help to update these progress bars and these percentages. So we have our labels here. Uh, we have our progress bars through here. We got a couple of group boxes to sort of keep everything all nice and tied together. Our push buttons. So it's you're looking at about 5 different UI elements there. So let's go ahead and do a quick playthrough. Kind of show you a couple of things. We'll do one to a failure state and one to a success state. So let's go ahead and do the failure state first. So we still have the familiar random event generator going on. So this should get us to a failure, and we still. If you might remember this from our previous iteration, that's still a thing. So let's go ahead and hit play again. So this time we're actually going to try to make sure we do the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order, and you know what? Let's go a little bit over. Show you something really, really interesting here. So hit submit order, and what's really cool is that out resets to 0, but this caps out at 100%. This won't go any further, and what that does is it kind of keeps people from cheesing the game by just ordering like 100 of everything and just blowing their entire budget. So let's go ahead and end the day there. So it looks like sort of comboing at the range. So we need to plan our fuel. So we had that drop in fuel right there. So we need to handle that. Let's go. Well, that should be enough right there. These are getting a little bit low, so let's get a little bit extra. It looks like we have another range day. Let's see. There we go. Tired troop guys. Oh, that's not good. Everybody's beating each other up. So we can still go through here. Let's order some more medical supplies. How are we looking everywhere else? We're looking good there. And looks like we're gonna need some more munitions so we can fill that task. See here. There we go. All right, so this is our success state. We actually managed to make it, and now we have staff duty on Saturday. Boo. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on under the hood with this. So we have our form designer right here. Right. So as you can see, we have a lot of things that are just kind of just randomly labeled, but the player doesn't see that. Of course, our labels here, they still have their names, which are used by some of the functions within the code. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. So let's start up here. We have all of these variables that we initialized. Some of these were carried over from the previous one. This one, I don't really use it. I'm keeping it in because I wanted to do some more in a future iteration. I just haven't quite decided which direction I'm going to take that in yet. But I think as I go through it, I make more decisions and I kind of add more features. That'll probably come into play. But for now, I've just left it in. So that's not an error. That's something that I actually consciously chose to do. So these bright green ones here, these weren't in the last iteration, but these are some of the controllers that are handling a lot of this stuff. So whereas before for supply cat, we just had this array where it was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like these other ones. As you can see, there's only 2 of those arrays left on the random event deck. We actually took those and just kind of tied them all together here. So each of these still has their own name, but what this allows me to do is have a little bit more flexibility instead of having to constantly loop through all these different systems. I can just pop all that there in just one little line of code, and I can do that pretty much anywhere I want to, and I can reuse it in future features or future iterations. So this little line here got to use a lot of, simply because everything's kind of done in fives, and that's just for this game. And so we got our this little thing here right here. This actually took me a little while to sort of intuit out, because historically I've always been kind of used to just, okay, x equals 1 2 3, but here, since we're dealing with this controller, where yeah, you have this array that's supply cap, but each it's holding all these different things. uh, you have this dot text and dot value are the two ones that I really got to use. And then, of course, for the data inside of it, you cast that as an integer. Otherwise, it really doesn't like to play around with anything too complicated. So then, of course, because we saw these readiness statuses, they are 0.8 floats. That's representing our 80%. Multiplied by 100, and that's what gives us that here. That is what initializes these. So that's why whenever you start the game, you're seeing that 80% instead of 0.8 or nothing at all, or just the label 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And the same kind of applies to these labels here. When we're looking at these subtotals, and the nice thing about this was all I really had to do is just dot text 0, because these numerical controllers are going to have an immediate effect on that, as you saw during the simulation demonstration. And now this is the progress bars, which I thought was really cool. I actually got a pretty big kick out of that, watching those things go up and down. And so this is what kind of it takes the value of from the readiness status, kind of iterates through all 5 indices, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the submit order button. So what this one's going to do first, it's going to check to make sure that you actually have enough money. If you don't, it'll give you this little purchase error, and that's the exact same variable that we had created before in the previous iteration. Of course, using the familiar for anti 0, 5, plus 1. And so each element here, so you're looking at the order form, the value that is in here. So as you go up and down, it just it'll give you that 1%, and that is actually handled down here. This is where the scrolling is going on. So your total cost, it's going to start out as 0, and if you don't put this in, it'll actually, this number here just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you actually have to reset it. And it'll give you that total cost. Yeah, there's your the order form value and everything like that, which is so we initiated that up here. You see these those names, that is actually the value that is held within that control. And that's kind of how it knows what's going on, as it kind of calculates that rolling total for you. So it's updating the subtotal, and that text is what kind of controls each of those. Let's see. All right, so as we going up through here, the you get your 1% per what you submitted for whenever you click that submit order. If it is over 1.0, which 1.0 times 100 is going to give you your 100%, it will automatically just cap it out. It just turns it right into a 1. Then here's where we update the progress bars and the supply category text. So that's what updates these labels right here. And then this here is pretty simple. Just goes through and resets everything back to 0. So once you get through, you want to end the day. Yeah, this is where kind of a lot of stuff is going on without that little one button click. So we have those 5 different categories. Well, a couple of them have a different burn rate than the rest of the day, than the rest of the categories. So here we're burning 3%, and the way it does that is it uses the same loop, but once that index is 0 and 1, if it's 0, it's going to burn you 3% off of that. If your index is 1, it'll burn you 2%. Then 2, 3, and 4, all they just burn at 1%. If anything is less than 70% at the end of that day, that's where you get your failure state, right? Then you get your little message box. Let's see here, and then of course, as long as you're good to go, you get your little attaboy, you get your pat on the back. Right? Now, if you're not, if you don't have a game over failed, you're good to go. It just rolls on into the next day. So it advances the date, kind of updates the text there at the top of the screen. And then this is where your random chance comes in. And this is the same code. Really nothing needed to be changed from that for this iteration. The only thing that happens, of course, is, your, this was added in. This is pretty much the same thing as it was before, except now it's just going through that array instead of just a whole bunch of stuff being done at once. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And there's some a lot of stuff that I look forward to kind of doing in the future. Definitely going to be doing some rebalancing. I think I probably am going to kind of maybe either start with a lower readiness status or just decrease the budget. There's a few different routes that I can go. And we'll see as this continues to grow and develop. And who knows? Maybe eventually it'll turn into a full-on third-person style game.